All right, guys, welcome to another episode of 5 Minutes of Mike. I am your host, Michael Beckford. And this episode, we're going to talk about the big steal. All right, guys, I'll see you guys on the other side.
This is 5 Minutes with Mike, our news, our voice, and our opinion. With your host, Michael Beckford. Now stop, listen, and pay attention for 5 Minutes with Mike.
And welcome back to another episode of 5 Minutes of Mike. I hope your day is going well for you. Yeah, man, the thing about this 5 Minutes of Mike, just for my new viewers, those who never viewed any of my episodes before, I talk about a wide range of topics, whether it's politics, religion, sports, entertainment, and it is what it is. I talk about whatever I believe is on my mind. I was taught to speak up and speak out. And also I believe in the power of free speech and the power of letting your voice be heard. So you guys can also let your voice be heard by liking and subscribing to this content, and also make sure you leave your comments in the comment section so you can let your voice be heard. And I usually try to answer every particular comment. It's not a big channel yet, but hey, we working that way. But either way, I try to answer every question in the comment unless it's on some crazy-ish. But anyway, guys, we're going to get into today's episode, the big steal. So everybody knows about the big, beautiful, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. The big, ugly bill. Donald Trump calls it a big, beautiful bill. I'll call it the big, ugly bill, along with some other politicians that aren't too happy about it. But before there was a big bill, big, beautiful bill, there has always been a big steal. Okay, guys? Anybody with an IQ above room temperature can see that the big ugly bill, that was recently passed by Congress is nothing but pork belly projects, nothing that is actually for the average everyday American. It's all just hinged upon tax breaks for the rich, wealthy, while taking away, taking away Medicare, all kinds of goodies that are really necessary, EBT and other benefits that are really necessary for a healthy, functioning nation. The thing is, why are we paying our tax dollars, right? Every time you get a paycheck, those that work 10 W-2s and 10 W-2 jobs, you get the FICA and Social Security and a couple other things coming out your pay every single time without question, without you even being able to make a comment. You have no choice. It's coming out. Okay. And so the thing is, what if this particular entity, right, which is the federal government we're talking about, the U.S. federal government, if they're automatically pulling our dollars out with the help of these corporations, right, because the corporations are the ones that hire big companies like ADP to do payroll and processing. But the big thing is, you got these multilateral billion-dollar companies that are basically, yeeting our paychecks, if you will, hand it over to the federal government on a silver platter. What makes you think these same big companies won't also get the tax breaks and other incentives from the same federal government that are making sure that you stay in line and they can take your money? Right. So the big steal, what I believe is the big steal. So like I said, the big steal has been going on for probably well over 50 years now in the United States, maybe longer than that. Probably, honestly, 100 years. I can go 100 years. I'll go to the time of the Rockefellers and that particular gang and the Hoovers and other things. A time when we had a Great Depression, and then we went off the dollar and basically things started going to credit. I'm sorry, we went off gold, right? The time went off gold. So gold Back in the day, for you guys that don't know, because the schools aren't teaching you everything you should teach nowadays in school, especially in Florida. But when it came down to gold, I'm talking about physical gold. United States had what was called a gold standard. We were literally, for every dollar that was being printed by the U.S. government, it can be accounted for a percentage of gold. Period. It's very simple. I print $1. I better have, let's say, a whatever metric of gold that represented the power of the dollar at the time. Okay. So you may ask, okay, why don't you guys just, run around and just handing out gold to people? Well, just handing out gold to people, not only is it can be very costly, but it's not as, I don't know. I mean, historically, gold has been a measure of trade amongst people back in the day. But yeah, I don't know. But I believe that the main thing is, this episode of 5 Minutes with Mike is brought to you by Michael D. Beckford's newest book, HOMEBOYS. Everybody has a homeboy, or friends call his own. The best friend you kick it with at the family barbecue. The one you trust to bring around your lady without raising a red flag. A homeboy will play video games, smoke, and chill. A homeboy is a nigga you can ride or die, and the one you sleep with on the low. HOMEBOYS, available in ebook and paperback or wherever books are sold. In a way that creates a fiat system of currency that we have now, that's off the gold standard, it honestly had to be done in a way that they do it now. So the big steal honestly started, like I said, a little bit over 100 some years ago during the Rockefeller era and all those big boys and industrial revolutions in here in America. And the thing about the big steal is that it all starts small most times. It starts just enough, just a little bit for you to not notice. And to a point in time that you start to realize that, hey, man, wait a minute. We're 2025 and there's taxation without representation. We're being double taxation. How do I know this? Because there's toll roads in Florida that never goes away. Not only are you being your taxes coming from the building of roads itself, but now you're paying a toll just to get off the exit off the very road that you already paid taxes for. Okay. So there you go. That's one. Okay. And how do I know that there's another problem with the big steal? Well, here's the big steal. Property taxes, guys. Property taxes a little over 100 years ago, once more, was not a thing of the United States. When you bought a property, you owned it. That's it. You paid the taxes at the time that you purchased the property, like any other thing that you could imagine, just like a sales tax, right? You pay or a transactional tax, but you don't pay every year for an assessment of what your property is. It's a steal, guys. It's a joke, in my opinion. It's not actually not even really just a robbery, like just robbing people. And who's the people getting robbed? You, me. The middle class, the small guy, the middle class, and even some of the wealthy is getting robbed too, by the way. But the system's not set up for the wealthy to be robbed, by the way, in a sense, if they do it the right way, right? But if you look at some other countries, some other nation states, they don't have property taxes. You're not paying property taxes every year off some rando assessment that, oh yeah, your property going up by $20,000. But wait a minute, dude, I'm not making no $20,000 extra in income from this property. This is crazy. This is crazy work, dude. You mean to tell me that somebody, just because of the fact that there's houses being built in my neighborhood, nice houses now, has gone up, and the real estate market, let's say, has gone up to a point there like, oh man, your house went from a value of $250,000 to now $500,000, then, oh, you need to pay the taxes on your percentage, whatever that percentage is, on a $500,000 value. To anyone else, that's freaking insane, dude. That's freaking crazy. Imagine, so let me put it in layman terms. Imagine you own a TV. Now, mind you, you paid for the television. You pay taxes for it also already at Walmart, CVS, not CVS, I'm sorry, Best Buy, Amazon, wherever you buy a television, right? You already paid the taxes. But now you have good old taxman, because, by the way, our televisions are, at least those that are connected by internet, are sending data back to, whatever platform, Google, Amazon, because they own these platforms of our televisions, Roku, right? And it says, hey, TVs in your particular neighborhood have gone up in value, so you will be assessed a bill of roughly $5.50 each month because TVs in your neighborhood, the value of them have gone up. No, it don't matter the fact that you already paid $345 for it. No. You going to continue to pay us for the rest of your life. Now, if the value of the TVs go down, let's say by maybe 0.5%, and instead of paying that $5.50, you just pay $5.15. How does that sound? I mean, for most, it sounds asinine because you've bought a television, you paid for the television, and now that transaction is over, closed out. Why are they now being charged for more? Listen, guys, it's all a part of the big steal. For those of you that were old enough to realize that there was such thing as once you, let's say, bought Microsoft Windows, do you remember at the point in time that you actually used to be able to just own Microsoft Windows? Pay maybe $70-some. You own it for life. If you decided that you wanted to do an update, hey, you update it 3, 5, 7 years from now, you update it, cool. May pay another $100 update it. Now, you go find the software you go find me a disk or whatever you can go find for Microsoft Windows that you can just own for life. Nope. You want to use Microsoft Windows, Microsoft Excel, all these things, you're going to pay them for life. $10, $11, $12, $13 a month, whatever it is. So, another big steal, in my opinion. Hey, listen. Am I mad at Microsoft because of the fact that they realize that it's much more profitable to charge you for a subscription for a service than have you pay one time and then say F off to them? No, of course not. But these are all examples of what's happening with the big steal. Every single thing when it comes down to services, when it comes down to federal government, even think about your car, dude. Try driving around with an expired tag. I'm not talking about because you did some illicit criminal activity. I'm just saying because of the fact that you decided to not renew your tag and pay the tax. Okay, that's a tax for the registration of your vehicle. See what happens. Yep, they're gonna throw you in jail. And honestly, they're gonna throw you in jail for a lot of different things if you decide to not get in order and in line with the big steal. Okay. Don't pay your taxes. Guess what? Oh yeah, they gonna come knocking on your door. You know who the boys is? Them three letter words. You know who those boys are. Yep, they're coming. Guys, we are living right now in a time where the big steal has nothing else more really that it can steal. What I mean by that? Everybody's in debt. Everybody's in debt. Whether it's student loans, and that's a whole nother conversation for another day. Whether it's just, trying to figure out your property taxes before the man take it and now sell your house and put it on the market for whoever decides to swallow it up, to the rent man. I mean, everybody is in debt. To now, one of the newest things that's happening right now, by a very popular company. Well, not popular in the sense of like likability, but a new thing that's happening now, especially I've seen it in Florida. The newest thing that's happening now with this big steal ideology is instead of you being able to own a house, now you find these Wall Street companies, the big boys, purchasing whole neighborhoods. just for rent, which to me is insane. Listen, guys, if you are renting everything and don't own anything, and also there's a loose term when I say own and ownership, but if you don't own anything and your whole life is based upon renting subscriptions, right? Because that's what you're doing. If you don't pay that Netflix bill, it's going to get canceled. Renting the cars, which means like that lease that you're paying, basically it's just a lease or whatever you got going on with that car. It's a glorified rental. This is going to cost the same as you're going to rent a car from Avis or somewhere. Of course not. But it's a glorified rental because at the end of the day, you stop paying for that car payment. No matter if you've paid, let's say 3 years of worth of payments, you got a year and 2 days left. You stop paying on month, let's say 4. They're gonna repo your car. They're gonna repossess it because you still owe the man that. It's all a part of the big steal. Now, if you got a house that you're renting, you don't control anything when it comes down to the mortgage. You have no control of, which means that every single year they can decide to raise that rent on you. Listen, there's nothing wrong with renting if you got to rent from time to time. There's nothing wrong with buying a car if you got to finance it from time to time. I always suggest, and all my vehicles I've purchased in the past few years have always been just cash deals. I buy, like, I won't say beaters, but just older vehicles that can get me through, and I pay cash for them, and they last me. Have lasted me a great deal of time. I've had, a number of vehicles. I've sold vehicles, things like that. But the point of the matter is, we're at a point where something is going to break. Like, it's going to break. And with people losing houses and losing cars, and losing their mind, and our wealth gap is at a place of uncertainty. The rich is getting rich, the poor is getting poor type of deal. America, we have a problem. And that's why I say it's a big steal. Because everything that we've been told, everything will be taught to need and things like that, most of it is false. And I'll end with this. When you think about houses, right? Owning a home was like one of the last ways that a man or woman can basically be able to have some equity in a thing. Like, owning a house is like one of the biggest purchases that a person will probably make in their life. Bigger than them starting up a business, essentially. And when you decide that you want to sell the house or hold a house, either way, you have equitable interest in that home. But if you're renting a property every day, month by month, year by year, all you're doing is essentially throwing that money in the trash. Whereas a house, at the very least, hey, can a man take that away? Of course. Don't pay them property taxes. They're going to take it away. Don't pay your mortgage. They can also take it away. But there's more upside to home ownership than there is downside to it. Especially when it comes down to leveraging that home that one day you can maybe sell it and earn a ridiculous amount of money on top of what you may have bought it for, if that property, vested good enough. Anyway, this is not about a real estate conversation. This is just about things that are happening in America right now. It's the big steal. Like, Americans are fed up with what's going on, not living from paycheck to paycheck, not feeling like we got enough in our pockets. Everything is on rent. Everything is for rent. Nothing is actually fully owned where you can just say, oh yeah, cool, I own it, I don't gotta pay nothing else on it. Everything is like Rent-A-Center. Like, every single thing now is for rent. And at a point that we've gotten to this place in society, it's dangerous. It really is dangerous because our consumer debt has gone out of control. People are using credit cards just to pay for groceries, dude. That's crazy. Unheard of 50 years ago. Unheard of. But here we are, dealing with the big steal, dealing with our government funded projects that we don't have no say on, dealing with things, the military industrial complex that's gone bigger and bigger than ever. Listen, I love the military. I have no problem with the servicemen and women that do what they do to protect our nation every day. Any relative country need a standing army, right? And but there are a lot of bad players that are part of the military industrial complex, meaning corporations that are profiting off of our dollars and making crazy amount of money. Like when you're selling $50 screws to the U.S. government, you're basically screwing the taxpayer. That's a problem. But anyway, guys, hey, let me know what you think about the big steal. I mean, this is probably going to be broken up into many different parts, but the main thing is it's an issue for our country. It's a very radical problem. And unless something gets fixed, unless some politician grows some kahunas to do something different, we are going to have a problem unlike ever seen before, especially with the advent of AI. A lot of people are going to be losing jobs. Anyway, yeah. Like, comment, subscribe. Saints, turn with me to, let me find that right quick. Turn with me to page 265 in your hymn books. We're going to sing together, Go Tell It on the Mountain. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain, where Jesus Christ is born. The world is crying for a hymnal to sing. We're constantly on the verge to let freedom ring. We look for a new song every chapter of the week. That song may be about a boy or girl who has no food to eat. It may be about a soldier shot in the chest or police violence during a house arrest. We watch and we pray, we sing and we shout, we clap and we dance, and then we leave out. We really think that we made a difference because of the same old hymn that we've always been singing. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain, where Jesus Christ is born.
We're born at a time, and we live in an era when no oppressed people will be satisfied to let the oppressor continue to oppress them without doing something about it. And as the oppressed awaken and become very eager to defend themselves, the oppressor himself is going to step up his activity. And step up activity on the part of both will produce an explosion that's just as certain as the rising of the sun on the eastern horizon in the morning.